fine.
Hey,
Hi.
hey, what's up? Nice to meet you in person or virtually.
Yes, how are you?
I'm wonderful. So you're stuck in traffic in Brooklyn, huh?
No, I was driving from Boston.
Oh, I gotcha. Okay, okay,
Yeah.
cool.
So, yeah.
Well, the last time we caught up was 2021, and
Indeed.
you did the project with Terry.
Yes, that's
So
exactly right.
so now we're out of this pandemic. We're entering the post period. How did you survive the last half of it, and how does it feel to have new material out now?
I mean, I was a complete workaholic during the pandemic. I put out like 3 or 4 albums. I was doing whatever I could. I started an online magazine. I'm hyperactive, so I need to always be doing everything. I couldn't just sit down and watch TV
Yeah,
like many others did. That would have driven me completely crazy.
yeah,
Yeah, so it feels great to have an audience
yeah.
because I was absolutely not a fan of the whole live streaming thing. I believe in people going out, and I think enough people like to stay in their pajamas in front of a TV, right? So I am so happy that people feel comfortable again going out to shows, listening to music, buying drinks, and you know, being social humans. So that's the major difference because I can always record albums, but actually performing for people, thank goodness, hallelujah.
Yeah, I agree. And I feel like that here in Kansas City. How do the crowds feel? Is there a difference?
In New York,
Yeah.
think I think it would be a lie to say that it's all back to normal. Um, but it still feels like a lot of people were desperate for to go out because I guess people who decide to live in New York are also choosing to be in New York for the nightlife and the lifestyle. So the people who didn't mind it left New York, and the people who remained are the ones who were happy that the clubs were reopening and happy to hear music again.
So talk to me about this new project, Who at the Most. Talk to me a little bit about how this came together and how it feels now that, we're entering this new world we're in.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of a nostalgic. It's a sad album. We Jeremy is my best friend, and we've been through everything together. And he actually came during the pandemic. We he came to Switzerland with me, and we lived together with my mother. So we've been through thick and thin together. And what is interesting is that when I met him, I don't think either of us was doing so well. um, we were at a strange time in our lives, and so our relationship was based on going to piano bars and drinking and closing up the piano bars and being the last people standing, and you know and we wanted to when the pandemic hit, we were very nostalgic of that era because we went through important things together and grew up in a way together through that experience of just basically learning the songbook and playing at different bars in New York, and having everything stop was really a strange feeling. Um, so it is a tribute to old New York, and it hasn't been the same since, honestly. That is something that I think kind of died. Um, it was a very old crowd usually that would go to these piano bars. It's an old tradition, and we wanted to capture that as well as possible, and just leave our mark on the piano bar. scene, and a tribute also to that pianist we loved so much. I don't know if you got a chance to read the liner notes.
I didn't dig into the notes. No.
Yeah, so the pianist who was our mentor, who was at the piano bars, and we followed him around, and we always wanted to listen to him. He unfortunately passed away. He had COVID and died, and so that also was like added a whole element to this end of an era sensation, where it's like it's the end of old New York. It's the end, like this pianist we loved. It's the end of him. It's the end of the crowd who used to follow him. Something kind of broke. And that's what was very interesting with this album, is that it's kind of an album in mourning, but also celebrating that world we used to love so much.
You know, it's interesting. My family, my dad was born in Brooklyn, raised in Long Island, and I had a cousin that lived in Long Island. I remember going up there in the 90s, and she used to just spit fire about how New York lost its edge. Times Square became Disneyland. There was all this nonsense that was going on, and the grit was gone. There was just this vibe. But it always seems to me as though New York is kind of this phoenix. It always finds a way of there, like right now, as much as things are murky and weird and divided and all of these things are going on in America, New York is always kind of on the top of that heap. Everyone follows suit. And there's going to be a way that it's going to capitalize on what I hope is going to be a new era of enlightenment, which is going to transcend a lot of things and bleed into music and jazz and all of that. So hopefully there's going to be a new vibe.
Well, I hope so too. Um, I hope that it doesn't just that New York doesn't become just a paradise for finance bros and corporate America, because that's kind of what it feels like, honestly. So I am also waiting for that renaissance. And I guess, I mean, you are right. New York has been reborn and died many times,
Yeah.
but this is definitely one of the deaths. And so we can see how it's going to be reborn. This, I have no answer, and I hope it goes along the lines you are suggesting.
Yeah, well, that's the only thing at this point we could be hopeful about, because I know it was awfully dark when there was nothing going on in the world of music and musicians weren't doing anything. And now that we're coming out, it's like, let's just go hard. Let's get to a place where we reinvent ourselves in a way that is emblematic of who we are and capitalizes on the integrity that we hold. So before we depart this album, it seems as though it's kind of a memorial, not only to an old world, but almost like a cathartic moment. Do you see this album as kind of a re-emerging catharsis thing?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I guess that's also why people listen to sad songs, right? It's for the cathartic feeling, right? You can displace your own feelings onto something else, and it gives you distance. And I think sad jazz songs are perfect for that.
Billy Joel sang something about that, the sad songs. I'm trying to think of the line, but anyway, it plays into that whole New York thing that he was tapping into. The one thing that you had mentioned too that I think is interesting about what we've gone through is there was a lot of musicians that, because of what was going on, had to find different professions and left big cities like New York. But it seems as though all of you that have stayed, that have kept the fire burning, I think there's going to be a special place that you all will become leaders. Have you ever thought about that? That all of you that are staying, that have stayed, that have new material, that are keeping the fire going, that there's going to be you're going to be kind of the anointed leaders of this new jazz march.
I mean, I hope so. It means that, it's kind of, I see us as crusaders, almost like we were walking through the dark, but with a lot of faith remaining, you know?
Yeah.
And you have to have that kind of faith when the world seems to be collapsing around you. You have to really be guided by something that is not just career, but that is some kind of mission.
So when you create art, you're not necessarily thinking, what's the audience going to get from this? It's just a byproduct. But with that being said, what are you hoping the listener gets from this new project?
I I want them to see a window into a world, and also I think this album plays a lot on New York mythology. It's like, is New York a real place? Does it really exist, or is it just made up of all our impressions of it? And this idea of having an album that is centered around the figure, the archetype of the sophisticated lady, the one who sits looks a bit sad and doesn't smile to the music. That's kind of the thing. That's a very New York archetype that has survived from the 20s to now, I think. And so we're playing with this mythology of the jazz age into our age. And I think that kind of atmosphere is what I'd like the audience to get, as if listening to the album was like watching a film. I wanted to really be evocative of a certain mood that has transcended through time in New York City specifically.
So the one thing about what, at my standpoint in talking to you about this project, is you're moving past it. You know, by this point, it's been out for or you've been planning on this. You're moving on. What's next? What do you, as the warm months come and we open up into a new year, a new post-pandemic era, what are you looking forward to? How are things unfolding for you?
What this pandemic taught me is that I want to write. And this was also coming from the recording this album and researching all this music with Jeremy, is that we got very deep into the lyrics of the American Songbook, and it made me want more than music lyrics. And I actually have another album coming out soon. I wrote lyrics to the music of Django Reinhardt. So nice. a lot of his music doesn't have any lyrics. It wasn't meant to be sung. So I'm transforming it, sometimes like completely destroying the initial musical idea and transforming his music into songs as if they were written for me the whole time. So that's what the pandemic brought to me, and specifically this album with Jeremy was trigger point of escaping, just getting like recreating.
I may have lost you. We were kind of blipping out a little bit there. I'm going to give it a second. Okay, are you there?
Yeah.
It was like
that's the problem with being on the
road. Well, I think maybe the loose spirit of Django got in there and kind of threw everything out. I think that was when it started. So, but I'm really looking forward to the Django project. That's wonderful. He's one of my favorites.
Yeah, no, I was just saying that I instead of interpreting music, I want to be part of the creative process of writing, arranging more and more. And that's because of having a deep dive into the American Songbook.
Yeah.
That really inspired me to write my own lyrics.
Excellent. So where's the best place for people to pick up this album, see anything about live shows, anything pertaining to your world? Where do they go?
Can you say that again? I'm sorry.
It broke up. Okay. If anybody, where's the best place to buy this album, find out about live shows, anything pertaining to your world? Where can they go?
To buy the Two at the Most album? Well, it's going to be on Turtle Bay Records website, but it's also going to be free for streaming on every platform. But I recommend getting the vinyl.
Yeah.
Because if you want, I mean, it makes sense with the whole, we're recreating this jazz age mythology nostalgia. So if you want to listen to the album the right way with the whole mythology behind it, you should get the vinyl for the full experience.
Yeah. Yep. That's the official Warm Sound. Hopefully we don't do this with 8 tracks. I hope that doesn't come back.
Yeah. Well, it sounds great, but it's keeping with the idea behind the concept of the album. It's not just about the music, it's also about like the mood that you set, right?
Yeah.
So hitting play on Spotify is not going to set the same mood as like carefully putting a vinyl on a turntable, right?
Well, it's a lot like
and fixing yourself a martini.
yeah, right. No, I get it. And it's a lot like why you would go to a club to see a show versus a live stream. It's the ambiance, it's the whole feeling.
That's exactly it.
So
you can recreate that at home if you really don't want to go see a show. You can create your little jazz club at home. You put on that vinyl and you stay up late and you fix yourself a drink and you can pretend you're in one of those piano bars, many of which have closed, unfortunately.
Absolutely. And if you're at home, you can truly be the last person standing. So that's the other caveat, so to speak.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, exactly. Hey, it's great to catch up with you. Thank you for taking some time out. I look forward to the Django.
I'm so sorry for the car situation.
Don't worry about it. You know what? It's funny. This backdrop here is kind of my facade, but I'm in a car. I have a day job. Oh yeah, I'm in a car right now, of course.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, that's hilarious. I should have chosen some kind of backdrop too.
Oh, you're fine. No, I kind of like it. I feel like I've been in a Flintstones cartoon. It's like I'm just imagining the scene is repeating itself.
Yeah.
So it's good.
I really recommend that you read the liner notes because they're part of the experience.
Yeah, absolutely. I certainly will.
Yeah.
Hey, it's great to catch up with you. Thank you very much for opening up. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Cheers.
Cheers to you.
Take care. Bye-bye.